I'd like to call the Monday, May 19th Board of Education meeting to order. First order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance, so please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. Next, we have on the consent agenda, we'd have the approval minutes of the April 28th board meeting, as well as the statement of receipts and expenditures for April 2025. We have a first.
Second.
And a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes as well. Superintendent's report.
Yes, so we are honored to recognize our staff retirees. Tonight, we have four people that we are going to be recognizing. Michelle Chop with 11 years of service, Mike Maloney with 35 years of experience, Shannon Meisner with 30 years of experience, and Julie Seibold with 18 years of experience. So there's a total of 94 years of service to our district. And we appreciate all the work that they've done with our students. Michelle as a speech and language teacher, Mike Maloney as an ELA teacher at John Long Middle School his entire career, Shannon Meisner for 30 years at Grafton High School in social studies, and Julie Seibold as a speech teacher as well. So we had an opportunity beforehand to congratulate them, to hear about some of their plans and to hear their thoughts about that, but we'd like to recognize them individually. So I have a certificate as well as a fleece as a gift to them for their years of service, and we can say that each of them will be missed, but I'll read them individually. I'll have them come up. This is the part that none of them are looking forward to. So I have Michelle Chop, we'll go alphabetically. So it says, with sincere appreciation and gratitude, Michelle Chop, on the occasion of your retirement, the Grafton School District gratefully recognizes your 11 years of service to the students and community of Grafton. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And then she's going to give a 5-minute talk about, no, she's not. She would quit on me, and we don't want her to quit. And now Mr. Maloney, with sincere appreciation and gratitude, Mike Maloney, on the occasion of your retirement, the Grafton School District gratefully recognizes your 35 years of service to the students and community of Grafton. Thanks, Mike. And Shannon Meisner, with sincere appreciation and gratitude to Shannon Meisner, on the occasion of your retirement, the Grafton School District gratefully recognizes your 30 years of service to the students and community of Grafton. And last but not least, Julie Seibold, with sincere appreciation and gratitude to Julie Seibold, on the occasion of your retirement, the Grafton School District gratefully recognizes your 18 years of service to the students and community of Grafton. And we also have in attendance their spouses. They're here to support them, and we appreciate that. You know, we know that each of them have made a profound impact on our kids' lives as well as our adults' lives, and we even found out that Mr. Maloney was a teacher for Ms. Swenson back in the day. So we have an administrator. So something I did not know after my 9 years in the district that came out of that. So we do appreciate the work that they've done. I don't know if the board would like to say anything before we do a group picture.
Well, thank you to all of you. Well deserved. You know, it's been an honor to have all of you in our district, you know, working with our kids and in our community for so long. So well deserved. Enjoy the retirement. And as Mr. Nelson said before, if we see you back helping out, that would be great too. So congratulations to each of you.
Maybe we'll bring the four of you to the front and have the board come behind them. So I have 7 of you. Great. Awesome. Thank you. Congratulations. then following up with our theme of congratulations, congratulations to Mr. Topher Adams, who's sitting here to my left, who has been named the 2026 School Business Manager of the Year by the Wisconsin Association of School Business Officials. So he will be officially recognized in January of 2026. And as Topher has already told us, that means it's a 2-year award for him because he's Business Manager of the Year right now, and he'll be Business Manager of the Year in 2026. And so I was pleased to nominate Topher for this award for all the things that he's done in our district. And also want to thank Steve Nada as president, Jerry Rossi as finance committee chair, as well as Jackson Parker, who's a business manager in South Milwaukee that Topher mentors, as well as town chairman Lester Bartell. The 4 of them wrote letters of support for him. Some of you may not know Topher volunteers as one of the town's representatives on the Ozaki Central Fire Department. But we appreciate everyone supporting him by writing a positive letter of recommendation. So he'll get officially recognized in January, but we wanted to make our community aware, and the board, thank you for your support, and congratulations to Topher.
Point of clarification, I'm not a volunteer for the fire department. I want to be the fire department board.
Oh, yeah,
Very,
right, yeah.
very, I want to put everyone at ease on that one.
Fire Department Board, yeah, that's a minor detail.
But thank you, Jeff, for nominating me for that. I feel honored that I was selected by WASBO, and thank you for those of you who did write a letter on my behalf. And I just want to say that it would be difficult to be recognized for that if I didn't get to have such a good boss, didn't get to have a board, didn't get to work with a board that was effective and always working for the betterment of all the kids in the district, as well as being able to come to work every day and having a great district office staff and serve with an awesome leadership team. I really do love coming to work because I have such great people to work with. So, thank you.
And then some more celebrations at the high school. So I've asked Mr. Manti to come up to the mic and read through numbers 3, 4, and 5 about some exciting events that are upcoming at Grafton High School or some awards that have been received.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Happy to present a couple of items on behalf of Grafton High School. First and foremost, the graduation ceremony for the class of 2025 will be held on Sunday, June 8th at 10 o'clock a.m. We are thrilled and excited to acknowledge all of the accomplishments from our students from the class of 2025 on that date. A couple of reminders on the date as far as the Sunday is concerned. We made sure that we selected a date that does not interfere with any of our extracurricular activities. We've got state track that'll happen that Saturday, so our athletes will be back on that Sunday to be able to celebrate with us. And then the 10 o'clock a.m. time frame, making sure that we are conducting the ceremony at a time where the weather is favorable in terms of temperature, not into those hot and blazing afternoon ceremonies that we had in the past. So Sunday, June 8th, 10 o'clock a.m. Congratulations to the following students. First, our valedictorian, Luca Nicoli, our salutatorian, Alan Sia, and then our top 10 academic students from the class of 2025 listed alphabetically: Will Brulette, Justin Durst, Colin Garvey, Josephine Gasser, Sophia Getz, Cora Kempfer, Luca Nicoli, Andrew Sherman, Tyler Swenson, and Alan Sia. Truly a special class top to bottom, but looking at our top 10 students, they've accomplished some amazing things in their time at Grafton High School. So excited to celebrate that on June 8th. Also, congratulations to the Grafton High School on its repeat designation as a Project Lead the Way distinguished school for increasing student access, engagement, and achievement in both our Project Lead the Way biomedical science programs and then also our engineering program, which follows our Project Lead the Way curriculum as well. So super excited to once again receive that award from PLTW. And along with that, congratulations also to Kennedy and Woodview, which are also repeated their honors as PLTW Distinguished Schools for providing broad access to transformative learning experiences for students through PLTW launch, the district's elementary STEM curriculum. So congrats to our 2 elementary schools. And the 3 schools combined are the only schools in Ozaki County to be recognized by Project Lead the Way for those honors. And you know what a great county we live in as far as that's concerned. So congrats to the 3 schools on earning that recognition. And then last, but certainly not least, we'll talk about some solo and ensemble accomplishments, some musical accomplishments here. Congrats extended to our following musicians who received the highest overall rating of 1 at the state solo and ensemble competition. Hannah Foytz on the snare drum, Lincoln Grykar on the marimba, Elizabeth Kroll on the violin, Matthew Wheeler on the piano, and also the Black Hawk drumline, always a crowd favorite at our events. Special congrats to Hannah Lincoln and the Black Hawk drumline, who were all nominated for the Exemplary Performance Award, and the Black Hawk drumline for winning that award. So awesome accomplishments in the area of music as well. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mante. And then also letting the board know that we met with State Representative Paul Melitik, visited the district on May 9th. Mr. Adams, Ms. Mack, and Ms. Leeson and I met, talking about Grafton School District. A lot of news right now on the news cycle about education and funding. We talked about how the funding formula impacts our district. We're unique in that with our growing enrollment, the funding formula helps us, but if we were to be at stagnant, we'd be at a $2 million deficit right now. So it was a great opportunity for us to share the great things happening in our district, but also talk about funding, special ed funding, and so forth that we could bring to his attention, and appreciate him taking the time meeting with us. And then annual basis, we inform the board on our parent testing opt-outs. And this year we had no high school students opt out of testing, for middle school, and 1 elementary student opt out across the district. So if you recall, 2 years ago, we moved to when parents want to opt out, they have to write a letter, and then we follow up with them explaining the importance of the test or explaining the rationale for it and hear their concerns, and parents can still opt out. We've seen those numbers drop from 22 to 7 to 5 over the last 3 years. So that's where we are with our parent testing opt-outs. And then our construction update, we are going to bypass that because we have our first item after public comment. We're going to have a presentation on our addition and remodeling construction update. So we will save that till then. And then finally today, I wanted to update the board and the community on the incident that we had at John Long Middle School, where we had a situation involving graffiti in a restroom that raised a potential school safety concern. Mr. Weiss immediately connected with Officer Alfonsi, our school resource officer, and engaged him in the process. He worked with the school administration to assess the situation. Students were placed in a hold, and the building was searched. So we want to thank the Grafton Police Department as well as the Cedarburg Police Department, whose K-9 was instrumental in ensuring the building was safe. Following that search, determined there was no threat, so the students were able to finish their day on a normal basis. After school, I did attend a staff meeting debrief for Mr. Weiss and Officer Alfonsi, reviewed the situation with staff and the response that they had, gave opportunity for staff to give feedback. But I want to thank Mr. Weiss and his team for their quick response, keeping students safe and interacting with our SRO to help make sure we were making the right decision in that situation. And with that, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Questions for Mr. Nelson? Okay, thank you very much. Next, this brings us to public comment. I received no email, so nothing was forwarded on from the last meeting to today. Is anyone here like to address the board? If I can just read one quick statement before I do. So with this, the board recognizes the value of public comment and will adhere to the following guidelines that are established in policy 0167.3, public comment to the board meetings. Comments should be directed to the board presidents. Comments should focus on topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. No action or discussion will ensue based on public comment unless the topics being discussed is already an agenda item. Before speaking, please state your name, address, and group affiliation if applicable. And then statements are to be limited to 3 minutes in length. Please note that this is a public meeting and that the meeting is being live streamed and will be posted on the district's YouTube channel.
Hi, I'm Carrie Smolinski. I'm here representing the Grafton Education Foundation, but I'm also a teacher here at the high school and a parent in the district. My address is 1558 East River Road in Grafton. I'm here as a representative of GEF to say thank you for your support for our Night of Giving, which was held in April, on April 11th at the Ozaki Nonprofit Center. It was quite a success this year. I think if you were there, we had a great time gambling and had a lot of fun and raised a lot of money to support teachers in the district. So thanks again for all of your support as the board. And then also I'd like to remind everyone that we have the Color Blast event scheduled on June 11th at John Long Middle School, which is the last day of school. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board? Okay, seeing none, we will go to item C, JLMS addition and remodel construction updated.
Yes, so I just want to say thank you to our partners in this, Huffman Keel, Growth Design Group, and CJ Schmidt, Huffman Keel being our owner's rep, Growth Design being the architect, and CJ Schmidt being our construction manager. Thank them for being our partners in this. And so we do have Tyler Helker from CJ Schmidt and Michelle Hammerling from Huffman Keel here to present our construction update for us tonight. Board back.
Awesome. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to formally say thank you to not only the community but the board for trusting us with this construction project. So it really started with getting a lot of these early contractors released. You know, the steel really drove the project. We had a lot of guys that worked through negative 20-degree weather that really, you'll see it now, ensured the success of this project. So it's all due to them. I just oversee them. So this is kind of where we're at right now. So as painting goes, you'll see that we have all these accent pieces completely done on the south side of the project. We're going into our finish second coat on the other side of the project as well. All of the ceilings, have been completed. We're just finishing up a handful of inspections, and then we'll be able to drop the rest of the ceiling tile. Within the next couple weeks, that should start to finish up. As the bathroom goes, we did just finish the tiling this week, so they're putting in their finishes already. So we do have the urinals. All the stalls are going to start going up in the next 2 weeks as well, so that bathroom is going to be significantly complete by the end of May. As it goes for brick, we did have a kind of a goofy detail with the precast that was up there, so it took a little bit for us to get going, as I'm sure a lot of you saw, but now we're really moving along and we're fixing to be done by about the end of May. And then we'll move into, there's another metal panel system that gets installed around that brick, and we'll be complete about just before the end of school. The flooring is about 85% complete. We're holding off on the corridors, just where the high traffic areas are as of right now, and there's a lot of nice patterns that go in there that we don't want to ruin until we really need to put it in. As you'll see, and I think in the next slide, our millwork, we had to get into a production schedule 3 months ago. Well, due to us really holding our schedule as it is and accelerating, we're 2 weeks away from getting our millwork. So what we're going to do is, in that last picture, you'll see right where those pipes are holding out, we did install a carpet. We'll peel it back, put the cabinets in, and then we'll put new finished pieces up to those cabinets. As for the roof cap, we're probably, again, about 2 weeks away, just waiting for the mason to finish up on the south side, which, again, should be done by the end of May, and then we'll finish off with that roof cap. Probably the best news that I can give today is, as of this month, we are 50% billed out for construction, and we still hold 55% of our risk funds. So that is funds that we hold as a construction manager to make sure that any unforeseen issues that hit, we can take care of. We're not dipping into extra buckets and making sure that the project finishes on what the contract that we signed. Some upcoming activities. So June 16th, we do have our electrical power shut down so that we can swap out all of the old electrical gear that powers the entire facility and put brand new stuff in. So in coordination with We Energies and obviously the school district, We're going to shut the power down, get everything swapped over, and then it should be back on prior to the 4th of July. June 16th is also our official start to the remodel work in the existing school. So we're hoping that we're going to be working off of a generator that we're bringing in ourselves, so there should be no interruptions within our schedule. By July 30th, we're hoping that all of the landscaping work is complete. Again, we have a little bit of grading left to do around the building addition. And then I'm sure you've all seen up front, we do have a little sand filter up there that will be completed within those first couple of weeks of June once the kids are out. August 18th is our substantial completion date. So at that time, we'll still be doing minor punch list items, painting, stuff like that. But that is going to be our hard day. And then we'll work with the school district to kind of get a ribbon cutting on everybody's calendars, and then we can kind of showcase our little project.
All right, going into schedule, you've seen this pretty consistently throughout the project. I did add a move-out line item because we are getting close to summer starting and we need to turn the building over to C.G. Schmidt. So it requires getting a lot of people out of the room. So summer logistics, ensuring staff are ready. So the areas highlighted in yellow are all the areas that are going to be impacted by this construction happening this summer. So it requires contents to get moved, furniture to get relocated. We've come up with a couple of staging areas in green to take place. So to date, we've been meeting with all the John Long Middle School staff that are going to be impacted, ensuring that they have a clear understanding of the labeling that needs to take place on their contents, just to make sure that nothing gets missed or lost throughout being temporarily stored during the summer. We're working very closely with Jamie and his team to assist all of the teachers with either lifting or moving or providing extra boxes or labels or whatnot. We'll also be bringing on a third party to help move some like the furniture and things of that nature. We have a pretty quick turnaround time. We're actually going to be starting in some spaces the afternoon on June 11th, so the last day of school. So we've already had communication with those teachers who are impacted, and we're going to be ready to go. We have a little bit of abatement to do, which we want to do ahead of when we turn the space over to C.G. Schmidt. So teacher packing deadline is end of day on Friday, June 13th. The fifth graders who are moving over, we are working to get their addition ready to be turned over late July. Doesn't mean they have to start moving in right away, but it's just going to be available to them. And then full access for all staff, it's going to follow when we get substantial completion for the building, which is August 18th. And we're looking very good for that. And then just a snapshot of our budget summary. You'll notice that more invoices are coming in, and we have settled on our playground equipment that is now approved and on order. Playground is going to ship July 11th, so it ties in very nicely to finishing landscaping on July 30th. So all of that is going to just tie together really nicely for a full finished product at the end of the school year. Does anyone have any questions?
Tyler, when you mentioned the 55% left, is that overall, not just what's been completed thus far? Because we talked on the tour, like, the remodeling aspect is the one that you could potentially run into some unknowns and run into some things where you have to tap into that contingency.
Correct, yeah, so that is what is left. What we're doing to mitigate that is we're starting to work weekends right away on the demo side, so that within the first 2 weeks, when you demo things, that's really when you're gonna see what's behind the walls that you can't quite capture in the construction drawings. So within those first 2 weeks of demo happening, I'm assuming we're really gonna know what our risk fund is gonna sit at closer to the end of the project, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Which moving company is selected for the movement of all the classrooms?
L.A. Crystal.
Okay.
progress to be able to be there. So it looks good, the numbers look good, and the schedule looks good, so.
Yeah,
certainly
I would just
positive.
like to add on that, like, CG Schmidt and Huffman Keel as our owner's rep have just been great to work with. On Sunday, I'm on a walk, and as I'm walking by John Long, I think of something, and I send an email to Michelle and Topher and Jamie, thinking I'd get an answer on Monday, hopefully. And like an hour later, Michelle emailed me. I was asking about lighting on the outside. I'm like, do we not have lighting on the outside? Because I don't see any lights on the outside. And I don't know where to find it in the graphs, and I should be able to. But Michelle, that's why we have Michelle. And Michelle is like, yes, you do. It's here and here. Okay, great. And Tyler is our project manager, Ryan Schmidt working with us. Like, they've just been great with all the details that go with it, that have kept us ahead of schedule, under budget, all the pieces that we're looking for. I can't speak highly enough of them. Working with Growth Design has been great as well, but we've just been very fortunate to have them be partners with us. Give them my highest recommendation. We're just excited for us to move into remodel and get to the beginning of the year, and the excitement piece of where we are now is really exciting for us. So.
Well, Jeff, you've been great. And Topher, and Jamie, the whole crew, Chris, you all have been wonderful to work with as well, which makes it just a great partnership. So thank you for everything that you're doing as well.
Can't say it better than that. Yeah. Thank you all.
All right, D, personnel report.
Yes, we have 5 approvals for hire that we would ask for, as well as information-only resignation. We have Noah Cook, counselor at John Long Middle School; Maggie Grappiton, ELA and Student Success Center teacher, Grafton High School; Cheryl Martinez, 8th grade ELA teacher, John Long Middle School; Taylor Ohm, physical education teacher at John Long Middle School; and Alexandra Chalet, 4th grade teacher, Woodville Elementary School, on a 1-year contract. And then a resignation for informational only is Nicole Smemby, kindergarten aide, Kennedy Elementary School, effective 6/11/25.
Any questions on the personnel report and recommendations? Seeing none, I would look for a motion to approve the hiring of Noah Cook, counselor, John Long Middle School; Maggie Grappiton, ELA and Student Success Center teacher, Grafton High School; Cheryl Martinez, 8th grade ELA teacher, John Long; Taylor Ohm, physical education teacher, John Long; and Alexandra Schley, 4th grade teacher, Woodville Elementary, on a 1-year contract. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a first and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes, and we welcome all of them to our district, and we thank Nicole for her time and wish her well in the future. E, May 12th, Finance Committee meeting. We've got a slew of some recommendations and some informational only. So recommendations first, we want to go through all of the recommendations, then go back and vote on them, or vote on them as we go. Do we have a preference? Vote as we go. Let's vote as we go. Okay, all right.
Turn it over to me? Okay.
All right.
Actually, that was the word I was going to use. I was going to use slew. And so as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh, you took my word. So we have numerous recommendations tonight brought to you from the Finance Committee. First is regarding the soccer restroom and concession stand, part of Phase 3, or actually all of Phase 3, for enhancing our future. Just going back a couple of years, back to May of 2023, we were about $285,000 short of completing the project, and that was after reducing the scope, bringing that cost down by about $100,000. We came back the next May, about a year ago, with some additional bids. We had, in fact, one from Duffick Construction that we were hoping to move forward with, but we are a little too short, about $162,000 short. And so we were directed to continue the fundraising effort. And so now, a year later, we've gotten closer to fully funding the project after having some additional fundraising by soccer parents of $68,000. At the same time, the cost has been anticipated to go up by about 5% in working with Duffick. so that right now we are about $117,000 short. There is an opening where they could start in August of this year and complete by October to complete this project. We could use funds from our capital maintenance plan. It is fully funded over the next 10 years. And driving the recommendation to complete this project for an estimated $360,000, knowing right now we're $117,000 short, not accounting for the fact that the soccer group does have $15,000 in potentially matching funds. If those are matched, that would be an additional $30,000 coming in. But driving the recommendation to approve is the fact that we are the only North Shore Conference school without permanent restrooms at the varsity soccer competition site. We do believe that waiting will likely result in inflationary increases that outpace our fundraising, which would make it more difficult to do, and then would lead to concerns over the donors that did provide, one that provided $60,000, one that provided $50,000 specifically to build this building. And we do believe that adding the facility project, we know adding the facility, this facility project to capital maintenance plan would still result in the fund balance being enough to take care of the next 10 years of needs identified in our district. So with that on the table, any thoughts, discussion, questions, as we do have a recommendation that we're looking for?
So recommendation came from the Finance Committee to the full board. We had one of the representatives from the group that's helping fundraise for the naming rights of the field, as well as also naming rights to be on to the scoreboard. And then if this is approved, they would still have to hit those tiers in order for those naming rights to transpire. So approving this that would be a reason why it would not necessarily stop. That makes sense.
A little. Could you elaborate on the name rights of the field and speak to the match?
Well, I'll jump in with any details that I don't have here. So there's $100,000 for a naming rights of the field, and then $50,000 for a memorial to go onto the scoreboard. So that is what the group is trying to fundraise for, and then those funds then would be allocated towards the project. So as that group has $68,000, $15,000 match right now, and if that gets fulfilled, that'd be another $30,000. They would still have to complete those milestone and fundraising in order to have the naming rights on either one of those.
Thank you.
Correct?
Yes, that's correct. And they understand that, and they've expressed they promise that they will continue fundraising towards the project. And Kathy Hines, who was at the meeting, shared that at that time, but she's also shared it with the other group of parents that we've met with multiple times throughout the last year in terms of trying to fundraise for this project.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions or comments on this? This would then complete our outdoor facilities upgrade. This is the final phase.
This would be the final piece of our outdoor facility upgrades, and we would transition into looking at our auditorium.
And the $50,000 and $60,000 we've had those for multiple years already, correct?
That's correct.
So that
Yep.
would be something we'd probably have to go back to those and look at that original contract that we had.
Yes, that's
or-
at least 2 years old, maybe 3, when we were doing the work that I was doing with businesses and getting sponsorships for the big pieces that we had. Those came in, I think, 3 years ago.
Yeah, I'm still hopeful that that soccer fundraising group hits those tiers, namely for the field of that 100,000. And in the meantime, I think it's a matter of, do we want to do this or not? And I think we need to get it done, regardless of where their money comes in. I just think we need to make that decision of now or not. I mean, as Topher said, the costs are going to go up. They've gone up already in a year. It's going to continue to happen. So I'm ready to move forward.
Comments or questions?
Ongoing impact to on the maintenance of the capital fund, pretty negligible? Do we have a dollar amount, guess?
Correct. In terms of the ongoing maintenance piece, we'd have to put, the roof would be something that would eventually go on, but our roofs last 30 years. So it would be a long ways down the road that we'd have concerns about maintenance to that building, but we'd certainly account for it.
What percentage or what number of games are played on the turf field? Ish.
Just only if the grass field's unplayable, and that happens primarily during the girls' season when late March, early April, early May, April is kind of grass a little iffy, so only the first couple matches of the spring. Or in the fall, if the grass field is very unplayable, but the grass field's in great shape, we can upgrades out there, so both water.
Any additional comments or questions?
How much was fundraised for the shelters for the soccer field?
Sticks in my mind. Kevin, what was it? I don't.
16.
That was the total? Because my number was wrong.
Okay.
That seems right. Okay.
Are there other commitments to phase 3? The Enhancing Our Future. So this is a complete phase 3 of Enhancing Our Future.
This would complete phase 3. When we first started this a long time ago, we did a comprehensive plan that had a phase 4, but that would included like lighting and LED lighting and just different things. That was more of like the wish list piece. And so as we've moved through this process, we've said phase 3 is a great phase to end away from our athletic fields as we look at our soccer stadium area, the stadium, our varsity JV softball fields with turfing, the JV softball, JV baseball, those are all in great shape. So it's really, this is the final phase of phase 3 that we need to address in our Enhancing Our Future piece.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I will look for a motion to approve accepting the proposal from Duffield Construction to construct the soccer restroom and concession stand, including the landscaping, for a total of approximately $360,000.
So moved.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We have, and that passes. All right. Thank you very much. Item number 2.
Yes, so last week at Finance, we did have Paul Leslia from R&R come and present our property and casualty insurance renewal. So we did see an uptick in our property and equipment renewal premium. Otherwise, liability crime were fairly flat. Workers' comp went down very significantly, savings of $26,000. And I do have an update. So you'll see that for the workers' comp dividend, last week he came in, he said it was a 10% variable. So as long as we have, our claims don't reach 50% of our premium, we would get 10% of the premium back in dividend. He managed to bump that up to 15%. That's an increase, an improvement off of what the Finance Committee was presented. So overall, our premiums are going down, so it's significant savings from the last budget. So any questions, thoughts, as we have a recommendation from Finance on the table?
Comments or questions? Okay, I look for a motion to approve the 2020 2526 workers' compensation, property and casualty insurance coverage as brought forward by R&R Insurance.
So moved.
Second.
Additional discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes. 12 for number 3.
Staff handbook for use next school year. Just an update, a lot of these are some clarifications on language, such as school cancellation days and who should be showing up, who can show up based on certain needs that we might have as determined by the superintendent. A little bit of a clarification on health and dental, clarifying that our full-time educational assistants have access to single benefits. Also, a couple of cleanup pieces on professional compensation, just taking out some of the language about how initial salaries are determined, as those wouldn't really pertain to someone who has a handbook, who already has that salary put together. Taking out some old language from many years ago that we don't use anymore. Also a note on retirement noticing and eligibility. And you'll see this for the resignation piece as well, just clearly delineating which employees should be told when someone retires in terms of superintendent, myself, payroll and benefits, as well as their supervisor. Retirement, changing the couple things with that, moving up the retirement deadline up to January 17th instead of February 1st, making sure that we get that before our January board meeting. And then also on the retirement piece, stating that you would need to be 55 by August 31st of that following school year to be eligible as well. And then that pretty much covered those pieces. Then we did have some additional, some changes with stipends at the end of the handbook, adding stipends at the high school for the Asian Culture Club, Dungeons and Dragons, music accompanist for fall and holiday concerts, as well as at John Long for musical lights and sound. And we have a corrected stipend that was boys assistant swim that was listed as a 2. We've always paid it as a 6 because 2 is what the head coach gets. So we just made that clerical error correction. And then we've taken out some stipends from the handbook that are no longer used. The John Long Middle School Cambiata, Pop a cappella, and treble stipends. So we have a recommendation from Finance. Just looking for any questions, thoughts as we consider that.
Good. Okay. I would look for a motion to approve the recommended changes to the handbook as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Additional discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And those changes pass. School fees.
Yes, so we took a look at school fees and compared them to our neighbors. We brought forward a recommendation that we looked at the comparables and saw that we're relatively comparable, just as we were last year, right kind of in the middle with neighboring districts on our fees for registration, for athletic and parking. And so Finance has brought forward a recommendation that we leave 2025-26 fees to be the same as they were in 2024-25. So turn it back over to the board for any thoughts or discussion.
For a motion to approve the 25-26 school fees as presented.
So moved.
Additional discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes as well. FSMC contract renew.
Yes, so looking to renew our contract with Chartwells as our food service management company. They, the renewal would have a 3% increase in what they charge to us for every meal that they serve. that would be a 12-cent increase to what they charge us for lunch and a 6-cent increase for what they charge us for breakfast. And again, 3% is the cap from DPI. It can be the higher of either that 3% cap or the December food away from home CPI index, which was 3.1. So it could be, it's the lower of the two. So instead of 3.1, it is a 3% increase for that contract moving forward. So we have a recommendation from Finance to approve continuing with Chartwell's, which we have had a great relationship. They've done a really good job for increasing our meal participation over the years, as well as adding breakfast programs at our elementary schools. Everything we've approached them with, they've done a stellar job with implementing.
Questions? Well, this is the second year of our renewal, correct?
Correct, so we can renew 3 more times before being required to go out to bid by DPI.
Questions, comments? I'll look for a motion to approve the contract with Chartwell's to serve as our FSMC for 2025-26.
So moved.
Additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that passes as well. All right, last for the recommendations is the school meal prices.
Yes, so sort of dovetailing with the increase in the charges, or in the prices for meals that we will pay, that Chartwell serves, we have recommendations to increase school meal prices that we charge our students and our families. For lunches, an increase in 15 cents per lunch at the elementary, middle, and high school. No change for reduced price lunches, reduced price breakfast. The breakfast price would go up by 10 cents per meal. That would keep up with the price increase we're seeing, as well as the inflationary costs for all the costs we need to cover outside of what we pay Chartwell's, like taking care of the equipment, servicing the equipment, Skyward software for handling all the meal charges that come in. So this would allow us to maintain a balanced budget going into next year for our food service program.
Question on meal prices?
No questions, Topher, but it came up in finance about the reduced prices. Do you
Correct. So
mind
the
just-
reduced price for lunches and breakfast is simply the amount that we can charge that would then equal the total amount we get for free lunches. So if we're, let's say the federal government is giving us, let's say, a total of $3 per meal, right, for free, then for the reduced price lunches, we're getting $2.60. So you're allowed to charge the amount that would equal that, that free price that we get from the government.
Thank you.
All right, I look for a motion to approve the meal prices as presented.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, additional discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that passes. Item F, we have some informational items from the Finance Committee meeting on May 12th.
Topher, do you want me to do the overview and then turn it over, or do you just want to?
Yeah, well, if you wanted to go through the overview.
Just don't want to do it twice. That's it.
Oh, yes, I will not, yeah, you go ahead, handle that before we
Be
shoot
the-
off to the next one.
Finance Committee, not the Department of Redundancy Department. Thanks for that. Okay, so health insurance update was discussed, and the district moved to a self-funded insurance model in January of 2024. An update on the self-funded health insurance was presented, focusing on cost control strategies. The district health plan had a 113% loss ratio from July to April, with the latter half of 2024 being challenging due to larger claims and one-time procedures. The district has a high incidence of members on high-cost specialty medications. The loss ratio averaged 77% from January to April, supported by stop-loss reimbursements. Cost mitigation strategies discussed included working with alternative pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, to reprice claims and utilize more progressive sourcing delivery solutions for prescriptions. Analysis with an alternative PBM showed potential total savings of $354,358 through rebates and program savings opportunities. True Scripts clinical programs could significantly reduce specialty prescription spend. Another strategy discussed was the Nexus ACO Value Network, which could potentially save the district about $175,000 with appropriate plan design and steerage. So many.
So great to have Dan there to present.
So when do we expect another update from Dan?
Say that again?
When do we expect another update from Dan?
I would anticipate him to come to the September finance, as we'll start to get clear numbers on what our renewal would look like. We'll certainly get, obviously, we've been trending much better in 2025. We'll have more data on that as well. But September would be when we would expect to see that.
Move on to capital.
Yes, please.
All right, we also discussed the capital maintenance plan. An updated capital maintenance plan was presented for long-term strategic planning of facility needs. The plan lists capital projects, their projected costs, and expected completion years over the next 20 years, categorized by funding source. The plan was brought to the Finance Committee for review before going to the full board in August. Projects completed or partially completed in the 24-25 fiscal year had an anticipated cost of roughly $1.2 million. We also discussed the positive impact of the favorable bid results related to the referendum project. The district has been able to approve alternative bids that we hope to do, but were not initially in the referendum. The same is true for some John Long Middle School capital maintenance projects that can now be addressed using available referendum funds. Using referendum funds for certain John Long Middle School projects would free up approximately $840,000 in capital maintenance plan dollars for projects across the district. The annual budgeted contribution to Fund 46 is expected to fully fund the capital maintenance plan over the next 10 years. The next step for the capital maintenance plan are to approve any additional transfers to Fund 46 in July and approve the 24-25 plan in August.
Questions on the cap maintenance? Thank you for your work on that. Facility use fees.
Right, we also discussed facility use fees, which was last updated in November of 2019. They have remained unchanged while comparable local fees have significantly increased. We reviewed a comparison of old and new fees of surrounding districts for various indoor and outdoor facilities across different user categories. Increasing facility usage fees to be more in line with local districts was examined and discussed, which would result in increased revenue. This is also an action item coming up later in the meeting.
Yes, that will be item G, so that will be coming up shortly. Debt defeasance? Yes.
Debt defeasance?
Yes.
Debt defeasance?
Yes.
The district has structured most of its Fund 39 debt payments to occur every other year since the 22-23 budget to maximize equalization aid. However, increasing enrollment has impacted the equalization aid calculation, potentially resulting in less aid in years without scheduled Fund 39 debt payments. To maximize equalization aid, the district can use existing Fund 39 funds to pre-fund future debt payments. An example of a $1.5 million defeasance was included. Administration will fine-tune fiscal projections to determine the optimal defeasance amount to maximize equalization aid for the following year. A special board meeting is planned for June 9th to authorize this defeasance.
Comments or questions? Informational only. Last one, 25-26 preliminary budget.
Okay, the preliminary budget for 25-26 was developed based on updated information and estimates. Key points included expenditures, the overall projected expenditure increase of roughly 1.14 million or 4%. This includes increases in salary and wages for all staff, a 10% increase in health insurance contributions, and an increase of 0.85 in teacher FTE, among other items. Revenue was also discussed. The overall Fund 10 revenue is projected to increase by 1.14 roughly million or 4%. This is due to two primary factors, our increasing resident enrollment and the $325 increase in per pupil in the revenue limit. Preliminary budget for Fund 10 is balanced with both expenditures and revenues at $29,663,997, representing a 4% increase. Next steps, the preliminary budget is scheduled for approval in June, followed by a budget hearing and annual meeting in September, with the final budget and levy certification in October.
Any questions on the preliminary budget? Certainly in a good spot as of right now, so thank you for all your work on that. All right, that is all the informational items for the Finance Committee on May 12th. Next, this brings us to the facility use fees.
Yes, so we did discuss this a week ago, and it was determined that administration should bring back a recommendation for how to address our facility fees, which, as mentioned earlier, are certainly have been unchanged for quite some time and are certainly below what other districts are charging for use of their facilities. Did bring forward what we have, our facility usage over the past 3 years with the different categories, the different groups. Category 2 primarily being our youth feeder programs, local groups. Category 3, with groups that have less than 75% of our own students, as well as Category 4, which tend to be your for-profit activities. So you can see the dollar amount that has been reserved. I will point out those dollar amounts aren't always received by the district. You can see on the bottom, we do receive donations. So instead of paying those fees, they are allowed to donate to the district to offset those fees. And over the last 3 years, it's been about $25,000 of donated items that have been tapped to reduce the actual fees paid out. You can see an example of the groups that fall into those various categories. And so we have recommendations for various facility use fees, knowing that we had the goal after feedback from finance of minimizing the impact to the Category 2 fees, our local feeder programs, and focusing more on those Category 3 and Category 4 programs. So we have some recommendations here. This is regarding our stadiums and our varsity fields. Another category for other outdoor facilities, JV fields and other fields we have, along with the tennis courts, as well as some of the auxiliary systems that go along with using those outdoor facilities. Then we move to indoor facilities, the gymnasiums. These are per court. I'll point out these are per court fees. And so these are for our gymnasiums across the district. We also have some of those auxiliary pieces that you can get along with those gymnasiums. And then also look at some other indoor athletic facilities like the fitness center, the lobby that would go along with using the gymnasiums, the swimming pool and locker room and such. And then other indoor facilities like our auditorium and our cafeterias across the district. And then lastly, some other indoor facilities, classrooms in general, LMCs, as well as looking at our custodial fees, which are charged when we have to have our custodians come in and work an event because there are no employees as part of the activity in that reservation. So we looked at this in terms of the recommendation, basically trying to, these fees, if passed, would not impact current reservations. So if you have fields, facilities reserved currently, you still have that price that we had been charging currently. It would also not impact current bulk reservations. Glendale Little League, bulk reserves a bunch of space, especially at John Long. That would not be impacted. They're set for this summer. They have those facilities reserved, as well as other current agreements, such as the Gladiators, who have agreements already in place for using fields this fall. So this would likely be something that would start really impacting groups as the winter season came along in those indoor facilities. So with that, we have a recommendation from administration to the full board for your consideration, and turn it over for thoughts and questions.
Questions and comments?
Topher and I went back and forth a little bit because I was questioning if you want to go back to the chart with the organizations and the categories, because I was questioning why organizations maybe fall in one of those categories. And there are some nonprofits up there that are in different categories, and it's more by activity than how the organization is classified.
Correct. So if you look at the language, it says for profit-making activities. It doesn't discuss nonprofit organizations.
But an activity for a nonprofit, let's say, or for an organization, could potentially fall in two categories?
Yes, it really depends on what that activity is related to.
So you're saying a practice versus a tournament to raise funds?
Correct, and if the tournament is for an organization as a feeder district for us, that would be different than someone, a business that works outside of the district that isn't running feeder programs for us, renting our facilities for a tournament.
Discussed in finance, one of the ideas we found a little untenable was raising fees on category 2. Seeing how that group is comprised of 75% Grafton School District kids. The proposed here seems to have about 20 to 26 increases in said category. Do you know, one, the impact to that 93,000? So if we were to filter that through. And then two, what's the thinking? Because it seems like a deviation from what was discussed at finance.
We took a lighter touch to that increase. You'll see the increases certainly are heavier on groups 3 and 4. And so that's what we took, that we would not have increases necessarily. We would have some. Certainly they are far below what our neighbors charge for use of their facilities for the most part. And then in terms of actually calculating a dollar amount, that's difficult with the way what's being pulled out of the system. You'd have to go in and figure out which facilities, which, gymnasium or what have you. You also have to realize, again, we don't actually receive that full 93,000. Some of it would simply be spending down a donation a little faster. That might result in further donations coming into the district rather than actual revenue.
Along those same lines, I guess I certainly like this a lot better than we discussed at finance, the shifting around of the increase. I mean, it's obviously, for a lot of these, it's still an increase, but it's down significantly from the proposal, so I definitely like that. That's
Just for observing, some baseball's up 300%, some baseball fields are up 300%, football fields up 44%. Sorry, it's late and I'm not doing percentages. You know, gym doubles, now doubles almost 6 to 12, but just observing numbers.
No, I think the tiering of category 2, 3, and 4 is appropriate, where I think we said don't increase category 2 as much as 3 and 4, and which is, you know, appropriate in my mind, because those are feeder programs made up of a lot of our own students. So I think they shouldn't bear a large of an increase.
And the only ones, I mean, as I look at this, you know, the varsity fields where the turf is, I mean, I certainly understand that. The JV softball and JV baseball, that's the only one to me that it just looked like, it obviously was smaller at $5 previously, but even as you get to the tier 4, I mean, we're 10 times what we went from 15 to 150. Not being turf, not being lights, I mean, to me, I wouldn't want that to be a deterrent that someone wouldn't come use our fields either. You know, so those two, the JV softball and the JV baseball, just seemed to be maybe even at the higher scale, even maybe a little bit too high for someone that wanted to rent our fields, for to run a tournament. You know, is that something that they'd even be able to do? And knowing that, you know, our neighbors are still high. So those are the only ones that I guess I would have liked to have seen. Maybe those come down a little bit more, with just being dirt end fields. And the same as the practice fields, you know, same thing too. I mean, we're maintaining those, but we haven't had the investment into those fields as we've had into some of the other ones with the turf.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing I'll point out, if you found any of this interesting at all, but that we actually charge the same price for using our JV softball and JV baseball as any practice field that might even be just open grass. And so we did find that to be a bit odd, that we didn't have at least a rate that was a little more commensurate with being a competition field for our high school.
I mean, so would anyone have any issues if those actually came down a little bit, even on the high side?
So the JV softball and baseball coming down on category 4?
Three,
3 and 4?
probably 3 and 4. That's- Percentage-wise, those went up 5 times and 10 times. I mean, nothing else really went that far. I do like, I mean, the other thing that I did like is that you combine some things, you know, like if you can use the press box, you know, now it's not an a la carte where it's also the scoreboard and it's this and it's that. I mean, it all comes together. It's one price. It all basically stayed the same, but it just, you know, it's easier to manage.
I guess for me, it's hard to answer that question without knowing how much it's used for category 4 currently. Any idea for those baseball? To Steve's point about JV softball and JV baseball being 150.
Sure, category 4, that would likely be that there's 2 weekends typically, or at least in the past couple of years, that's been used for baseball tournaments.
I would add that, you know, when shopping against neighboring, you know, communities, I think that makes sense. So while the field, you know, increases look egregious from a percentage from where we were today to where we might go tomorrow, if you're looking for baseball, hosting a baseball tournament, you look at Cedarburg, you look at us, we're still cheaper. So it might make the relative increase less. I'm still of the point, the category 2 increases don't make sense to me, but just a different, I view category 4 completely differently. That's a competitive scenario where we're competing for business from public versus if we have the ability to still maintain our fields, the capital maintenance fund is solid, do we need to reach for more revenue in category 2? And actually, I'd be interested in the business manager of the year, well, not this year, you know, next year. Your thoughts on that, right? Just from a capital maintenance, what would that increase revenue to category 2?
Right, any increased revenue, and so we do have a neighboring district that expects to receive about $120,000 in their facility usage fees, or where it takes us nearly 3 years to get that in. That's, for them, on a per-year basis, that's about $70,000 they have coming in that helps them take care of their facilities or can be used in the classroom to benefit kids in the classroom, right? So we obviously don't have enough money coming in that all our buildings are just taken care of without pulling money out of the classroom that could be used there. This just does create a situation where, like a neighbor, we can take those funds, better take care of our field, or if we don't need it there, we can put that money into the classroom.
Other thoughts? Comments? So I would look for a motion to approve the facility use fees as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Additional discussion. I guess I would still like to see the two JV softball and JV baseball adjusted.
I don't know that I disagree with you on the adjustment. I guess if I leaned anyway, I'd say I'd adjust it up. I wouldn't care if we were the most expensive in category 4 for that.
I think the Blair's point there, if they're shopping around, they're gonna come here still, because we're low. I mean, if we go too high, we're gonna lose any revenue. We're not
Yeah, I
gonna
mean, I guess
increase
if
it,
it
we're gonna lose it.
If it could come from category 2 and if we were still just a little cheaper, again, without knowing what the neighboring districts actually are, we'd still want it, but if it could lower category 2 at all, put it on category 4, I thought. I mean, if somebody else, if neighboring districts are 175 and we're 150, then I'd say, make it 160 or 165 and lower category 2 accordingly. I wouldn't adjust it down, I guess.
Any other discussion?
I'm with Blair on the 2. I mean, I know it's not increasing that much, but I think of those are pretty much our local kids, so.
I'm with Blair on the same sense with category 2, being, feeder programs from our district. I'd personally like to see it go back to finance to massage the numbers before we would make a motion to approve it as it is today. Seems like there's just a lot of inconsistent thoughts about it.
Okay.
And there's not an urgency to do this today. This has not been adjusted since 2019, so most of the effect wouldn't happen until the December winter period, it sounds like, so I would motion to put it back to finance for some adjustments before it comes back to the full board for full approval.
Is there a Topher timeline?
Well, the next finance committee would be in September. That would be the next natural place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna grandfather existing reservations,
Correct.
which is a bulk of.
And that could get into, by that point, you could get into the winter season being booked. So yes, so you'd be delaying any potential change essentially into that spring period or beyond.
With that said, Topher, we have that special meeting coming up. That's just for the one item. But, I mean, I know you'd have to put that together. Is that doable by that meeting?
Sure, we'd look for direction, like what would like to be seen, what information? We have some suggestions of some adjustments, but what more information would the board want to help them make a decision of what prices they could.
I guess for me, specifically JV softball and baseball, I'd be curious what neighboring districts charge, to see where we're at with that 150. You know, and then if we could lower category 2, I think that, and maybe not just JV baseball and football, whatever the ones that drive most of the, not everything.
I want to see the top 20% of revenue generating.
Yeah, because I'm guessing some of these things, you know, don't really generate. I think I asked about soccer at the finance committee. It's like, nobody's using it anyway, so, you know, it doesn't make it $1 billion, but, you know, the ones that are getting used the most in category 4. And then what's our neighbor, what do our neighbors charge, you know, for those top 20% or 3 or 4, whatever they are.
Would you also be able to get from some of the districts as far as what do they get from revenue for, I mean, is more of their revenue from indoor sports? Or is it from the outdoor? You know,
Yeah, I could
if you-
certainly ask. I don't know how easily they'd be able to break down their data like that. I know, because I do know for us, it's a complicated, arduous task, so it's probably a lot harder to say, why don't you put your staff to work on this for me?
Business manager of the year.
and then would we want to see a breakdown as far as for the different groups that we have? You know, we got a total dollar value for each of the groups, how much comes from each individual group?
I don't know. In my nerdiest of dreams, but I think you probably could get a pulse on the top, 20%, and that would help make the decision.
Yeah, and I could be way off. It seems like my gut would tell me it's the football field and the baseball field are a bulk of the revenue from category 4.
Gym, swimming pool.
Gym's pool.
Yeah,
I feel like getting into the pools a challenge.
yeah. The piano, maybe. I don't know.
So like village usage, Grafton Village. They fall under, like the Park and Rec Department wants to use our facilities.
Yeah, we have a contract, an annual contract with them for a bulk usage that we've had from the time we've been here. So in essence, I don't know, when they go in the system, I'm not sure which category. Are they category 2? They're category 2 when they put their stuff in. But even though they put in, they'll go in and reserve those spaces and it generates a dollar amount, we don't charge them that. They have a contract and they pay that quarterly. So it doesn't always, so you can take the data, that's the other challenging piece. You can take the data from what's in our reservation system. That doesn't always mean we're getting those funds into the district.
And I believe the village does not share some of our board members' concerns about category 2 when I look at the permit fees that we pay and increases we've seen since our last referendum. So there's been increases along the way that go towards that do come out of the classroom and we pay that.
And that last agreement was probably 20, it was
We could find that for you.
Yep.
Yeah, we could find that for you.
Okay.
I don't know if that was our first year. I don't think we had it before.
The which thing?
The village agreement. I don't think that was before. I think we did a blanket once we got here. I think it was more the trying to figure out a budgeting piece, which is what we do for basketball now. We do for Stingers. We do for Gladiators. Because they have enough time then they can budget for that.
I'm just trying to think, like, having that information, like, what is the agreement with the Grafton Rec Department? We had the shed with the Little League, so they've got an
4
agreement
years.
for 4 years.
Yep.
Who else has an agreement like that?
Gladiators.
And I guess that'd be good for me, that's what I'm trying to get at. And I know there are some other, like, gifts that we get periodically that would then count. So that's gonna be harder to
Right,
pull
so
out.
So for example, this Stinger's upcoming. You just accepted the donation of the scoreboard. That will alleviate their field usage fees.
So it's hard to, I mean, those are gonna be hard to unwind and provide that number. But I think if there were some, we've got agreements with maybe the larger ones, with the rec department, with the Gladiators, with the Little League.
We can bring that to you, but we know, I know, looking at this, we have an agreement with the Gladiators is for, they do this year's, whatever they use this year will get charged to next year, and then, you know, so it's like a year out. You always know, whatever you used it last year, then you know, looking ahead, that'll be what it is. And they make donations. So Gladiators have never paid a fee that goes into our,
Other than custodial.
other than
So when we
custodians,
do
that
have
offsets our
to
costs.
staff, and we do
But they
charge.
pay for the custodian. That isn't a donation, that doesn't help us, that's paying for the person who's there because they aren't there on a regular basis. They wouldn't be there otherwise, because if they do it on a day when we have a custodian, we don't charge them. But Grafton Little League has never had an agreement with us, or not never, but in the last 9 years, until the shed came up. Grafton Raptors, we do not do that with. Junior Blackhawks, those are all donations. That's what you've seen, all the pieces that Junior Blackhawks bring in. Grafton Rec Department has a contract. Stinger Softball brings in the scoreboard. So the ones that are making donations that are going to that 25,000 are Gladiators, Junior Blackhawks, and Stinger Softball.
And now the Little League with the shed.
And now Little League with the shed.
Do I withdraw my motion, or how do we handle
So,
this?
here, do I ask?
We have to vote on the motion.
Okay. All right, so we have to vote on what was originally for the motion. Okay.
Which was to approve the facility use fees as presented.
All right, so I would look for a motion to approve the facility fees as presented.
No, we already have.
We already
Oh,
have
thank you. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Aye. And it is opposed. So, do we have to look for a motion to go back to the finance committee? Or,
I don't believe so.
okay, so we would look for the June 9th meeting to add a second agenda item to that meeting, for this to be a discussion, and then to bring it to the June board meeting for a final approval.
We will get to work on that.
Okay, thank you for all your work on that. All right, H, also on May 12th, after finance, we had policy.
Yes, we did. We went through a number of policies that evening, I think number 47 of them in total. First group was the Neola update through 34.1. We've got 31 policies that are revisions, so we reviewed those, and it's a first reading and approval of those tonight. We did have some questions and get some clarifications. Thank you, Kara, for getting those from Neola to help us better understand that and make sure we are good. So we have 31 policies for a first read and approval tonight under Neola Update 34.1.
All right, so any questions on the first reading approval of the revised policies? Policy committee did a great job reviewing all those. So, I would look for a motion to approve the first read and the approval of the 31 Neola policies as presented.
So
Second.
First and second, any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and those 31 pass.
Also part of the Neola Update 34.1 were 3 policy deletions listed there, 5341, 5611, and 5710. We just need a motion to approve the deletion of those 3.
Any discussion on the 3 policies that will be deleted? Seeing none, I will look for a motion to delete policy 5341, policy 5611, and policy 5710.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, additional discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and those are deleted.
And lastly, a part of the Neola update, we have 2 new policies, 244001 and 8125. Because they are new policies, this would be the first read for the full board. Next month, we would have a second read and approval.
All right, first read for tonight, informational only. Any questions on the 2 new policies, 2440.01 and 8125? Okay.
Okay, moving on, Act 20 update. We also have a new policy, this would be a first read of policy 5411 regarding third grade promotion and retention at-risk students for Act 20. Really just information only. We'd have a second read next month.
Correct, and this is a new policy that goes into effect in 2027.
Is that right, Julia?
Okay, so another new policy for approval next month. There's no questions? Okay.
Then we have the Edgar UGG update. Again, these are revised policies, a total of 9. This is a first read and approval because they are revisions to those policies. Again, we had some clarifications needed from Neola, but we got those, so I think we're good from policy committee.
All right, any questions on the 9 new Edgar updates as presented? If not, I would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
First and second, additional discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and those pass.
Last, a new policy for us, it'd be a first read. Next month, we'd have a second read and approval. It's policy 2370, educational options provided by the district.
Informational only. Any questions on the new policy? We'll look to approve that next month. All right, so good work by the policy committee on a late Monday night, so thank you very much. Item I, board committee assignments. I did not get any requests to change anything, so we will keep our committees the same. I'll run through those here briefly. The only change that I will be making to the committee is policy will become policy and procedures. So that will allow us some of the handbook things and some of those things a little bit more natural to make sure that our Neola is matching our handbook, and then to just broaden that a little bit more. But we'll keep we'll keep the committees the same. So the committees will be Finance Committee Chair Jerry Rossi with Blair and Mark. Curriculum Committee Chair will be Carrie with Blair and Sean. Policy and Procedures Committee Chair will be Mark with Bob and Carrie. Marketing and Communications Committee Chair will be Sean with Bob and Jerry. And then Village Liaison, I will be the chair with that one along with Mark. So those will be our committees for the 25-26 year. J, overnight trip requests.
Yes, we have 2 overnight trip requests we'd ask for board approval for. One is for the Grafton dance team heading to the UDA Dance Gap at Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells. Mackenzie Kaler is the coach and chaperone for the event. And it's for departure date of July 7th, 2025, and return date of July 10th. And the student participants that are going to be on the team for next year is attached, and you can see that the student cost is $511, and they have some fundraising that's set up to help offset the cost for the dancers, and the rest is up to each student. It's the beginning, it's the core start to their season. And then Grafton Girls High School basketball of the Ultimate Team Camp at UW Stevens Point with Matt D'Amato as the coach, but Tori Means will be going along as a chaperone on 6/24 through 6/26 this summer. It's a team camp similar to a summer league, and they say a cost of $100 to $150 based on the year of the students, and they have a free throw contest that they run to fundraise, free throw-a-thon. They raise the fundraise to cut the cost down for kids.
Any questions on the overnight trip requests as presented? Seeing none, I would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that passes. Gift reports.
Yes, and we have a gift report here from Grafton Music and Theater Boosters with Rick Seibold as the contact person for the Woodview Music Classroom. And it's for 2 tubanos, percussion instruments, and 6 soprano ukuleles, stringed instrument, in the amount of $1,045.76. So it's a restricted gift for Woodview Music. We have Andy Wizzardi, GHS Golf GAB2 Golf Coaching Stipend in the amount of $1,795.09 being donated back to a restricted gift for GHS Golf. Charter Steel, a donation towards GHS Girls Basketball of a restricted gift of $500 towards girls basketball. The Grafton Athletic Booster Club, contact person of Ben Brehan for GHS Track and Field restricted gift of $1,000 towards record boards. Also, the Grafton Athletic Booster Club with Ben Brehan towards GHS Football for a restricted gift for football team program helmets of $1,976.25. And the last but not least, Grafton Athletic Booster Club, Ben Brehan for GHS Football, for football coaches WFCA membership in the amount of $417.04.
All right, any questions on the reports? Not, I would look for a motion to approve the gift reports as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, that passes, and we thank them for their support of our district, and we will get them a letter of appreciation. Item L, our next board meeting schedule will be here on Monday, June 23rd. We'll be back to the fourth Monday. With that, it brings us to adjournment. The Board of Education will consider a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Section 1, Subsection C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility for purposes of considering employee compensation. I look for a motion to go into closed.
So moved.
Second?
All right, we'll take a voice vote.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, we are enclosed. Thank you, everyone.